It's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, brought to you by Stock Car Steel and Aluminum and SRI Supply. Here's tonight's Speed 77 Radio Race Chaser Online Crew Chief, Tom Baker.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Thursday Night Thunder edition of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network. Set to go for a couple of hours here of race talk. We've got four special guests here coming up later on in the program. We're going to be focusing on everything from NASCAR Modifieds with New Hampshire Motor Speedway race winner Todd Szegedy to the ARCA Series. And we've got a trio of Cunningham Motorsports drivers, although only two of them are actually racing this week's ARCA race, which is tomorrow night at Lucas Oil Raceway. The other one, which is Austin Cindric, is actually running in the Continental Challenge, Continental Tire Series race here this weekend at Lime Rock Motorsports Park. He'll be joining us later on, but we do have Kyle Weatherman with us later, and also his new teammate making his ARCA debut, an open wheel dirt track standout, Chase Briscoe, going to be with us later as well. So lots of stuff going on here, and we're looking forward to doing the show. My name is Tom Baker, and I am the senior editor of RaceChaserOnline.com, today's racing news and yesterday's racing history. And I am joined by my Northeast correspondent, Kyle Magda, and also by my managing editor of RaceChaserOnline.com, Jacob Seelman. Got rained out tonight at the USCS race East Lincoln over here in North Carolina. He's going to be busy on the microphone tomorrow night now. Jacob, glad to have you aboard. We'll start with you. And we've got a busy show coming up. It has been a really wild racing week so far. Let's start right off by talking about what happened last night on the dirt at Eldora, and then we'll bring Kyle in because he was there. A couple of dirt guys. One that's a dirt track regular and one that is still mostly a dirt track regular, but who has been dabbling on the asphalt, got together and put on a clinic.
Well, first off, you need to let me back up about 3 steps, because I need to start by going, yes, surprise, I'm back. It's been about three.
It's good to have you.
It's been about 3 weeks since I've been on a Thursday. I have to see if I can remember how to ride on this boat. But let's see. Dirt, and more dirt, a subject that I know really, really well, because you're right, I'm going to be with Sprint Cars tomorrow night. East Lincoln's Thursday Night Thunder Spectacle rescheduled for Friday night with 360 sprint cars, 600 mini sprints, and a couple of local classes. Come on out to Stanley, North Carolina if you want to see a show and you're in the area. But insofar as the dirt at Eldora, holy cow. Who would have thunk that at the end of the night we would have on the podium 3 guys with more dirt experience than just about everybody else in the entire field finish 1, 2, 3. Chris Bell wins it. I'm still trying to figure out how any of us weren't smart enough to pick him on Monday night. I don't even know. Bobby Pierce, how much can be said about this 18-year-old kid driving for the Mittler brothers?
Love it.
I know, right?
Love
Been
it.
in the truck series since
Forever.
the inaugural season in 1995.
So I said forever.
Never had a pole, never had a win. Pierce got him the pole in single truck qualifying earlier in the day. Won his heat race, finishes second in the main, almost gets both the pole and the win for them. And then there's Tyler Reddick, who shoots right up the middle, goes from 7th to 3rd on the green-white checker restart, and really proves that he's not out of this yet either. Only 14 points between he and Matt Crafton, who fell back to finish 9th at the end of this. And Eric Jones even snuck through for a 4th place finish. So it was one of those nights where I expected what we ultimately got with Christopher Bell in victory lane. The rest of it was way too much fun to even try to predict.
Well, Kyle Magda, you were there last night. You covered it for us very capably and did a great job on the recap and all of the live stuff that you were doing last night. give us some quick impressions from a 10,000-foot overview. What were your thoughts last night? Did you have as much fun being at it as we did watching it?
I think Michael Waltrip said the word fun about 100 times yesterday during the entire day, Tom. It might have been the drinking phrase of the night, but it was just crazy night there. I did not expect that out of either of them, and I know how good Christopher Bell is on the dirt. And then I think he flipped his sprint car there on Saturday night in the Kings Royal, which ended at about 4:30 in the morning. And then pretty much Bobby Pierce did not see that at all. A half a second faster in single truck qualifying over the field guys, and that I just got there about 7 o'clock or so, or 6:30, and I'm like, wow, did not see that coming. He was quick in practice early in the day. What I think caught my attention the most was Bobby Pierce, because there was a run right after the competition caution on lap 60. He fell back to 5th and wound up going to 2nd. And pretty much, using the slide job and everything. But guys, I hope you were as entertained as I was last night, because that race was good. And from what I saw and from what the fans saw, I mean, for this event to be a standalone and what it's like every single year, two dirt guys going at it. Actually, Tyler Reddick there as well. They were just in a league of their own last night, and nobody was going to catch them. They tried. Austin Dillon went up there, could not. Was up there for a few laps. Bobby Pierce got back by, and pretty much it was just the restarts, guys. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But yeah, kudos to both Christopher Bell and Bobby Pierce.
Restarts were key. That was one thing we learned, and the second thing we learned is that NASCAR can put one heck of a show on a dirt track. Now, that also brought up the debate on Wednesday that do we do this more than once? Tyler Reddick said if we're going to do it again, one of those moments where you look at a track like Knoxville or one of these other big tracks. But Tom, I don't like that debate. I think it takes away from the prestige of winning on the dirt in NASCAR if you try to replicate this and take it anywhere else.
You mean taking it to a different track? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I mean, going to duplicating and having another dirt race. I don't think you do that. I think it takes away from the prestige of this event. I could make that case. On the other hand, I could also make a case that the overwhelming majority of fans on social media, every time this race comes up, always say that they want more. So I'm not necessarily subscribing to your theory, but I do understand it and can appreciate it. I might like to see. I don't know that I'd want to see too many more. Maybe one more. But I also could Knoxville possibly. But I also would not mind seeing the Xfinity Series instead of another dirt truck race. Why don't we put the Xfinity Series on dirt? I don't think I want to see the Cup cars ever go to dirt. I think that is what it is and shouldn't be tampered with. But I think Xfinity on dirt would be interesting. We could do the same thing. Just bring them to Eldora. We could bring them to Eldora. That would be fun. I had a really scary thought the other day. If we didn't go to Knoxville, it would be very costly to do, but Bruton Smith would be the kind of guy to try and do it. If you really wanted to try something funky for this dirt deal, why not do what the World of Outlaws did back in 2001? Bring in about a ton of clay and lay it down on Bristol, and let's go.
No, see, I would almost rather see them go to like Charlotte's dirt track or something like that.
Eddie Gossage was there. He suggested the Texas dirt track.
Well, again, that's another, you've already got dirt tracks at a couple of Bruton speedways. So if we were going to do that, then I would say just, run them on one of the existing dirt tracks. I don't think you need to throw dirt down on Bristol. It's interesting enough. They're going to make a football field out of it and have a football game in the fall. Well, we'll get off on that tangent a different time. But it's I just like the concept, and I think it's a treat for the fans, and I know it's a treat for the drivers. They love it, and look, if you can race ARCA cars on dirt. My goodness gracious, you certainly can race trucks. You could race Xfinity. I mean, you could even race Cup, but I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't holler if NASCAR got really crazy and decided to throw the Cup cars on a dirt track, but I don't know. I would definitely like to see the Xfinity series. I think that would be a real spark for that series.
Yes, please. Yes, please. I will reiterate that as many times as it takes to make it happen. I want to see an Xfinity race on dirt only because it would be one of those things where you look at this and go, okay, now, Kyle Magda, what do you get here?
Yeah, I mean, with the dirt, it's definitely a possibility, but I just don't see it happening with either Xfinity and Cup. And I know I saw on Twitter today, like you mentioned with Bristol, I think Rico Abreu might have actually brought this idea. It would be run the World Outlaw late models on Thursday, run the sprints at Bristol on Friday, and then run the trucks on Saturday with the dirt. So there's a lot going on there. And what is going on the effort they put in for a standalone event, Tom? There's so much going on.
Yeah, there definitely is, and I don't know. It's just a fun idea to talk about. But honestly, when you look at this race, and we'll talk a little bit more after the break about it. When you look at this race, what it comes down to really is it comes down to a complete change in mentality. You just got to think about so many different things when you put something on a dirt track. Your mind has to think about sliding in the corners. It has to think about 3 or 4 different lines. You got to think about not carrying yourself up to the wall. I mean, it's really strange. So what we're going to do is we're going to step aside. When we come back, I want to talk more about Eldora. I want to talk about some guys that had some outstanding runs last night that you would have never seen coming.
Daniel Hemrick.
Yes, Daniel Hemrick being the first one. He's a rookie in the series. We're going to talk a little bit about Daniel and some other folks that did well last night as we continue to talk Eldora. And much more to come here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. You are listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Green light. Hey girl, school zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin' Street? Girlin' Street!
It's hard to concentrate on 2 things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Here's an important message from RAD and this station.
Hi, this is Bob Sheehan from Blues Traveler for RAD, Recording Artists Against Drunk Driving. I like to party just as much as the next guy, maybe even more. But the one thing I won't do after I've had a few is get in the car and drive. Don't blow it. Always choose a designated driver. Remember, music lives and so should you.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue. Time for more of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on PMN. Here's a man who's in great shape. Well, round is his shape. Give it up for Tom Baker.
And now, let's be clear that round is a shape, and with all the rain we've had, we have to be careful. We can't let Tom too far out of his cage or he might float away.
Okay, moving on with the show. Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Now that we've been through the Jacob Seelman Comedy Minute, we will get back to race talk here on the Performance Motorsports Network. I am the aforementioned round-shaped Tom Baker, along with Jacob Seelman and Kyle Magda, and we're talking racing for the next hour and 45, hour and a half or so here on
You were right
PMN.
the first time.
Yeah, close enough. And we're talking Eldora trucks. And guys, we talked about him just before the break a little bit. Daniel Hemrick was one of the drivers. There were a few last night, but Daniel probably the best example of a driver who had zero dirt experience prior to this event. And here he is, a rookie in the Truck Series. He comes out and just does what Hot Shoe does and finishes fifth. All he does is finish races and do well. It's really a credit to his talent, what he did last night. I was impressed.
Well has really only come on for him in the last month to 6 weeks or so, though, Tom. I mean, he really, really struggled the first part of this season. It was about Dover when things finally started clicking for him. He got a fourth place at that race. But to come to Eldora, when, keep in mind, you didn't just say zero dirt experience in a big car.
No.
Zero dirt experience.
I said zero dirt experience, yes. Period.
Yes, period. He had never been on dirt for anything except maybe driving a passenger car until Wednesday night. And he goes out and finishes fifth. Keep in mind, there's another guy in the field that's pretty well known, Brad Keselowski. You might have heard of him, won the 2012 Sprint Cup Championship. He had never been on dirt for anything either until Wednesday night. Unlike Daniel, however, Brad had a ridiculously bad night after he stayed out at the end of the first segment to lead the race. Ended up with a wrecked race truck, finished 28th. So you get both halves of the spectrum. Daniel is so adaptable, it didn't surprise me at all to see him sneak up and challenge. What surprised me was quite how aggressive he was.
Well, he was aggressive. But Kyle, one of the other things was, I watched Daniel's line for a lot of that race. He spent a lot of it on the bottom, going as straight as possible. I believe, Kyle, that his experience in a Legends car, which is a very darty little vehicle that you got to really use both feet and you got to be very finessive on the pedals. I believe his experience in the Legends car really paid off for him last night because he was able to quickly adapt to the mental process of, I've got to keep this thing as straight as possible and not be sliding around and getting out of my element. He did that and was able to make some moves when he had to. I think he was very wise in the way he approached the track, given his lack of experience.
With Eldora, Tom, I don't think you really have to hit the wall every lap like Kyle Larson.
No.
But with that, I think, like we've seen with Bobby Pierce, Christopher Bell, they're running on top, but
yes,
they were so fast, and they just drove away from everybody. And yeah, you said, Tom, that really did surprise me with Daniel Hemrick getting a top 5 in that race. I mean, I didn't notice until actually after the results. With that, there's just so much action on that.
Well, I'll tell you a lot of what it is, and Tom, you said it right there. It's the mental game.
Daniel did.
It's the mental game. About that's what goes into all of this.
Yes.
Is the fact that you've got guys like Christopher Bell, Bobby Pierce, who know the mental game of racing on dirt. They made it happen. You've got Daniel Hemrick, who learned quickly the mental game of racing on dirt. It was just one of those moments where I think those guys finishing well proved exactly how big of a mind trick it is to run one of these NASCAR trucks on dirt.
Yeah, it really is. It's actually kind of a unique situation because really it's unlike anything any of these guys ever do. Even the dirt guys are used to, in a lot of cases, bigger and wider vehicles like the dirt late models that handle completely different than these trucks would, and the suspensions are different. So I really don't know, to be honest with you, how much Obviously the relevancy of the dirt experience makes a difference, Jacob, but I don't really know if any of them had a distinct advantage going in. I mean, you had the Dillon brothers who had, grown up on dirt and whatever. So there were a lot of guys with dirt experience, and even guys, I'll tell you another one I was impressed with, Matt Crafton. I mean, the guy he can drive anything in a truck.
You were impressed with Matt Crafton finishing ninth? Let's back up.
But he was up front for a good part
I
of
know,
it.
but that's not a surprise at Eldora to me because he's finished top 10 in every race they've run at that
I just thought he was
racetrack.
more competitive at the front than he usually is.
Yeah, okay, I'll give you that. It really didn't surprise me to see Crafton up there because we know he's aggressive. We know what he's capable of doing, and I feel like he just went out and did what Matt Crafton does every race in a truck last night. The guy that impressed me was his teammate, who's another guy that really didn't have any dirt experience and finished 8th. Cameron Haley, another one of those guys like a Daniel Hemrick that was really adaptable and picked up on this in a big hurry. So, there were a lot of really great storylines throughout all this. I was really disappointed that Kenny Schrader didn't have any better of a run than he did, finish in 11th.
Yeah, especially after that slide job he pulled earlier on in the heat race.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, that was vintage Kenny Schrader is what that was. But, all in all, another slam dunk for NASCAR on the dirt at Eldora. They need to keep doing this, and I hope this is proof of that. The fans were out again. The television was fantastic. Tony Stewart and Roger Slack were happy. It was just a good night.
And I thought one of the funniest lines of the night was when they asked Tony Stewart after the qualifying, or maybe it was during the qualifying. I can't remember. They asked him about the bumps of the track, and Tony just came right back. He was totally unflapped.
They basically asked if they needed to if Tony was going to get rid of him, and Tony says, they're character bumps. We don't get rid of the bumps at Kentucky or Pocono or anywhere like that.
That was great.
Why? Yeah, it's like, why are we going to get rid of him here? No, absolutely not.
You can tell that Tony just, in that environment, Tony Stewart was Tony Stewart. He was having a great time. And, it was funny because watching Rico Abreu hang out with Tony all night, everybody was saying, why in the heck isn't he in a truck?
I know.
Which I thought was a really good question.
Rico wasn't in a truck. Larson wasn't in a truck. I was a little disappointed, actually.
Well, I'm not disappointed Larson wasn't because the Walls were much happier last night. Although, I will say that there were a couple of trucks, and I can't help it. I mean, you had the 10 truck, the 08 truck, and the 05 truck. I'm not sure how any of them got in the race, but oh my gosh, if it weren't for those 3 trucks, we'd have had about 1/3 of the cautions. That was just a bad day for those 3 guys. Well, I did like the Trump, the unsolicited Trump promotion on Corbin Forster's car, though. Yeah. I give him props for that. I'm not saying I'm a Trump guy or not. I just give him props for standing up for what he believes. I thought that was funny.
Well, I'll tell you how John West got in the show, and that was by racing his way in through his heat race. I think Forster, I can't remember if he was in through the heat or in through the last chance qualifier. I know Jennifer Jo Cobb was in on a provisional, so there was that. But then again, she didn't. You know what? I give her props, though, because she didn't start and park it either.
No, she didn't. And look, I'm not trying to get in anybody's grill, but I mean, that was just bad. It just wasn't a good day. It wasn't a good day for Corbin. It wasn't a good day for John West. It wasn't a good day for Jennifer Jo. But I think the dirt, that might have been just a bit much for them, but it was certainly a great race. And again, I just love the trucks at Eldora, and I hope that they keep doing it. I would see no reason why not. Right. I've got to believe the ratings were as good or better than last year, judging from social media and knowing, a lot of the posts I was seeing were from people watching on TV, not people who were there. So, and it actually went off relatively without a hitch this year. It seemed like, Kyle, from from the standpoint of no lights or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, with what they did, it was just so late in the day. It's a late race, guys, but with what's going on there, Tom, they do a good job every year, with the heat races and the with that as well. So, it really, I liked it. I enjoyed watching Kenny Schrader, some good stories in the heat races. Christopher Bell, Tyler Reddick, 4 of the dirt guys won their heat races, so that was pretty cool. to see those guys do what they did and then go out there in the race. I was kind of surprised Kenny didn't run a little better. But definitely a good moment to see him win the heat race. So there's, they build so much up to that event, and with what they're doing at that moment, they do a good job. Tony Stewart, like you said, Roger Slack, they do such a good job promoting that race and getting so many fans to show up on a Wednesday night, in Ohio, and with what they've done, with the Kings Royal, and now here, it's been a big week for Ohio, and actually a big month, with Columbus, and then the MLB All-Star Game being out in Cincinnati, racing NASCAR at Kentucky, and now the Mud Summer Classic, and then, of course, the Kings Royal over the weekend. So, it's been a very interesting month in the Midwest, or at least around Ohio, Kentucky, because this place has been rocking ever since.
Yeah, and of course, and what I was trying to say was, considering that in the past they've had issues with power and different things like that, and things have run late, last night seemed to be a fairly flawless, from the track's point of view. I thought it was a great show.
It was a great show, and by the way, though he was involved in about 4 cautions, you mentioned John West Townley. I know this is a little bit of a shift gears news item that we can get to more later, but Alex Bowman's running his car in the Xfinity race on Saturday at Indianapolis. Not sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was one of those that came out of kind of out of left field earlier today. I was really surprised at that. But again, we'll follow up a little bit more on that later on. We're going to shift gears right now and go modified racing. And when we come back, we are going to go talk some drafting with the guy who gets back to victory lane with the Mystic Missile. Todd Zegedy joins us right after this. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him going on to fascinate millions with his talent? 1 in 260,000. The odds of this born racer having 157 career top 10 finishes in NASCAR? 1 in 125 billion. But every driver seeks the pinnacle of their achievements. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year? 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I'm NASCAR driver Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Early diagnosis can make a lifetime of difference.
Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Performance Motorsports Network, your authority on motorsports of all types. Be listening for the most accurate and up-to-the-minute coverage of every motorsports activity that you enjoy on a daily basis. Be it NASCAR, be it IRL, be it Formula One, be it drag racing, be it dirt track, off-road, props, hulls, whatever. We are your source for motorsport. Performance Motorsports Network. Here we go with more of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. We are having some fun on a Thursday night here on the Performance Motorsports Network, and hope that you're having as much fun listening to the show as we are doing it. My name is Tom Baker, the senior editor from RaceChaserOnline.com. Today's racing news, yesterday's racing history, tomorrow's racing stars, along with the managing editor for our website, Jacob Seelman, and Kyle Magda is with us as well. He's one of our Northeast correspondents, and Kyle was on hand at Eldora last night, going to be at the Lucas Oil Raceway covering the ARCA Series tomorrow night. So, Jacob, we've got a bit of a departure here at this moment on the show. We're going to talk some modified racing. More specifically, we're going to talk about last weekend's modified race at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, among other things, with our first guest of the evening, Todd Zegedy. Todd, welcome to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network. It's good to have you on the program.
It's great to be on the program.
Well, congratulations on a huge win, Todd, and that was a fun race to watch. I'm sure it had to be even more fun to be a part of.
Yeah, as everybody knows, anybody that's ever watched the Modifieds, it's definitely put on an exciting show at Loudon. It's our premier event, and, with that drafting, it really makes for a lot of excitement. I mean, those are some of the races where you can start in the back and be leading. It was, 30 laps in. So, it's definitely a fun place. I've got, quite a few years now that I've been there, but it always comes down to that last lap pass.
Not only was it a last lap pass, but it's the first win for you in your new partnership this season with Bob Garbarino and the Mystic Missile team. I mean, you've got a lot of history on the Whelen Tour. You won the championship back in 2003. You've been successful at Loudon before. But to win with a team that has as much history on the tour as Bob and that 4-car does, how special was it for you guys to finally make everything that you'd put together over the off-season and all this early season struggles that you guys have gone through, put it all behind you and make it worth it with a big win at New Hampshire?
It's always a special moment, especially, this past winter. I wasn't, I didn't have a solid full-time ride for this year. Bob Garbarino wasn't sure if he was even going to go back racing, and really the deal got put together real late in the season. I mean, we're talking, I think they pulled the cover off the car about a month before we went racing, and it was a thrash to get things put together. And, once Bob and I had talked about, building it, racing together, we still needed a crew chief. And, the days had passed. Bob said he'd get back to me on what we were going to do for the season, if we were going to race or not, and he'd give me a call, and he said, I have somebody that you might be interested in, possibly the crew chief of the car. And he said, he told me the name Don Barker, and I just couldn't believe it because Don and I are very close friends. He owned the 50 car back when I won the championship, and we have a lot of history together, but not to mention we also still remain close friends. And, right after that phone call, I called Don up and said, so we're going to go racing or what? He goes, I'm in if you're in. And at that point, it was just a matter of waiting on Bob's decision, and the rest is history. We put the team together, and like I said, it was done pretty quick, and pretty much right out of the box had pretty much immediate success, and we've kind of just been building it from there.
It's been a lot of fun to watch this team and this combination with you progress throughout the season, but what was different about this whole deal over the weekend was it was your guys' first race with the NASCAR spec motor. Well, based on where you finished, I know you guys, or at least the team, was maybe a little leery before the start of this one as to how well it would actually turn out. Are you guys a believer in that motor now that you've put it in victory lane?
Well, I mean, it'd be crazy to say we weren't. But at the same time, our engine program we had is very good. We had very strong Hutter racing engines, and they've always been known to do very well. And I think, the big advantage with the spec motor, I mean, horsepower to horsepower, the torque curves might be in a little bit different area. The horsepower's in a little different area. We proved that we were competing and running very well through the season with an open engine. But I would say the biggest advantage of the spec motor is putting 70 to 100 pounds of lead on the car. The engine's much lighter. And then, putting that 70 to 100 pounds of lead on the frame rails and putting it where you want it is a huge advantage in handling. So I would say more than power, over power is the handling advantage. And, and we felt at this point that was what was going to take us to the victory lane is getting the chassis to work a little bit better. And I think, time will tell. Next track we go to is Monadnock. in New Hampshire, and that's a short track, short bumpy track, and so it's totally different type of racetrack. You got the 1 mile, and now you got a 3/8, or I'm not sure the exact size on it, but I know it's small. So, time would tell if the spec engine is better or not.
Don, you kind of answered the question I was going to ask is, having only just that one race as a sample size. I mean, it's easy to say, well, you won, so you must like the spec engine or whatever. But do you feel like, because I've heard some mixed reviews about that whole concept, and do you feel like the spec engine in general, not to say the necessarily the performance of it, but just the idea of it, do you feel like that was a good decision or a bad decision for NASCAR with regard to the Whelen Tour?
Well, the Whelen Tour, as everyone knows, is the oldest touring series in NASCAR, if I'm not mistaken. And
yes.
You have a lot of teams that were set in their way and already had 3 to 4 to 5 built engines. A lot of money in engines sitting around. Now we introduced the spec engine it's cheaper. It definitely is cheaper by a lot, no, but it is cheaper to build a spec engine. Now you put in a few cars and now they're winning. And at some of the tracks you go to, it's a clear advantage to run that spec engine. So what ends up happening is, kind of forces you to switch. If you want to be a contender for a championship and you want to win races, you're going to need one. And that's what it has come down to. I mean, we've proved otherwise this year. I mean, like I said, we've been running strong everywhere. But we were missing just a little bit. And we made the decision that, getting that spec engine was probably the little bit we were missing. Yes, we put a spec engine in and we won the race right away. But until I go to these other racetracks and really feel what it's like to have them on these other racetracks, it's hard for me to make 100% decision if it is the right move. But outside looking in right now, it looks like it's the right move.
Interesting. Well, that's it. And it's, I do think that at this point, as you say, if the spec engines are winning at other tracks, and certainly I think NASCAR was looking at it as a cost-cutting measure, but of course I understand too that, some of these teams, now you got to get rid of the other motors if you're going to just go to all spec, and that can be kind of a tricky proposition sometimes, I would suppose.
Well, it is. I understand where NASCAR's coming from. NASCAR's always been really good to me, and I feel that their best interest is in the modifieds.
Sure.
Not just in the modifieds in general, but just in racing in general. They want to improve in racing. They want to bring guys from lower divisions up into the touring division ranks and make the field stronger. And because at the end of the day, in Connecticut alone, you have 3 racetracks that have modifieds, but they're SK modifieds. And now with the cheaper cost of an engine, you may see some of them guys moving up into the regional series. So I see where they're coming from. But I also see where, someone like Bob Garbarino, my owner, is coming from. They got all these engines. What do you do with these engines that you have? Now you got to try selling these things if we're just going to go to spec engines. So it is a tough transition, and I think they knew it going in. But at the end of the day, we got to do what's right, and I'm hoping that this move is the right move. It does seem like the car count is getting stronger, so maybe we are heading in the right direction. I don't know. We'll see. At the end of the day, I want to see great racing. So wherever it takes to get great racing, to get better car counts, I'm all for it.
I've got a two-parter here real quick, Todd, because, you talk about great racing. We obviously saw that over the weekend. And, I think that speaks, at least in some regard, to where the competition level still is on this tour. So many guys in modifieds call this the Daytona 500 of the series. How big is it for you guys to race, and then for somebody like you to win at Loudon, and for the competition to have been as deep as it is in that race? What do you think, as a former champion, it says about the health of the sport as far as where it's at for you guys in New England right now?
I think the sports, like I said, the car count's getting better. It's becoming strong, and we're getting televised coverage. I mean, that's a huge plus. now we're able to go to potential sponsors and when they ask that question, that dreaded question that we've had in the past, are your races on TV? I can tell them yes, they are on TV. So we are in the right direction, and the racing's getting better. One thing I didn't touch on about the spec engine is from what I hear from other drivers is it's easier to drive. So you can drive harder, you can drive the car harder. It's easier picking up on the throttle. So I think you're going to have closer races, and I just think it's just going to be better in the long run, I feel.
And of course, Todd, I know that the success you've had this season isn't possible without a lot of people to thank, a lot of supporters that have made it happen. We want to give you a chance to do that. Who do you need to thank? Who makes it happen for Todd Szegedy and the Mystic Missile?
Well, obviously, I've had a few sponsors on board. Montanari Fuel. Montanari Fuel, I work for, so as a full-time job, and they help out financially a little bit in the race car. Not to mention, they allow me to time off from work. That's a big, as we all know, you need to take time off to go racing, and that's a big plus. Plus, I have Moduleski on board, who was one of my best friends. He's helped out a few races. My girlfriend has her root salon on board, and of course, the whole race team, Bob Garbarino, who owns the Mystic Missile, giving me an opportunity. It's an honor to be able to drive for a legendary car owner like Bob Garbarino, and that car's got a lot of history. And the guys work hard to put this car together. And not to mention Toyota race cars. They're really, really putting their foot in the right direction, and the cars are getting better and better every time we get on the racetracks. Harder racing engines, and like I said, the whole team. I mean. Without all of them and their support, I couldn't do it.
Well, it's been a lot of fun to watch, and we're glad to have had you on for a few minutes to talk about Loudon Todd. Best of luck as you guys head into the rest of your season, and hopefully we'll have you back on before the end of the year at the World Series to talk about another win or two along the way.
I hope so. I'll be looking forward to it.
That's Todd Szegedy, and we are going to continue down the road of the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show when we come back. Still got a lot of motorsports conversation to get to. You're listening to the program right here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Okay, so Sarah, I'm dropping you off at Emily's?
Yep.
And Josh, you're going to?
Soccer, Dad. Soccer practice.
Right. Oh, by the way, I just wanted to let you know when I pick you both up, I'll be wearing my short shorts.
What?
No!
Yep, and my dorky dad hat, and I'm gonna do my dad dance for all your friends. They'll love it!
Seriously? Why?
Because I like my short shorts. Of course, I could be talked out of it if you guys would just buckle up your seatbelts without giving me a hard time.
It's important to get your kids to buckle up for safety, no matter what it takes. And sometimes, all it takes is your parental powers of persuasion.
Okay, we're buckling up.
See, all buckled.
Good choice. I'll just have to do my dad dance at dinner time.
What?
No!
Do what you have to make sure your kids are wearing their seatbelts, even on short drives. Never give up until they buckle up. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council. Visit safercar.gov/kidsbuckleup for more information.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
This is a test to find out if you know it all when it comes to children. Name one of the leading killers of U.S. children age 1 to 13. What's the best way to protect children in a car crash? At what age and size should a child start using a booster seat?
Don't assume you know it all when it comes to car seats for your child. Go to safercar.gov/the-right-seat and know for sure. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
And now, back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show with Speed 77 Radio's most follically challenged host, Tom Baker.
Again with the hair. What is it tonight?
Well, I don't know. It's just fun to pick on. And the five of them are going to be a little shorter tomorrow.
Well, the shorter, and I think after earlier today they were a little bit damper, but that's a story for another day.
That's for sure. No doubt. Tom Baker with you, along with Jacob Seelman, who you just heard from, and Kyle Magda. We are talking motorsports here on a Thursday night on the Performance Motorsports Network. And Jacob, in addition to the modified race at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway and, of course, the Xfinity and Cup Series events, we had a K&N East Series race, K&N Pro Series East race.
A very short K&N Pro
Very
Series
short
East
one
race.
indeed, yeah. Which turned out to be kind of an interesting event. I mean, it's amazing to me. William Byron is just everywhere these days. And in fact, such that he's actually on his way. We were trying to line him up for tonight to talk about his win from last week, but he's on his way to Lucas Oil Raceway to make his first ARCA Series start with Venturini Motorsports this weekend. He's a busy boy.
Yeah, we will make that happen for next Thursday.
Yes.
That is the plan. But indeed, he is going to be in a Venturini prepared car for the Sioux Chief PowerPex 200 at Lucas Oil Raceway tomorrow night. Don't ask me how I remembered that.
Gesundheit.
Yeah, there we go. But he did win the K&N East race on Saturday at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. I think it was late Friday. It was after the All-Star
Very
Shootout. The United Site Services 70 laps. Usually we go 100 or 125 at Loudon. No, 70. Which was kind of interesting to me because I'm sitting here going, there's not going to be a whole lot of time to do anything. But it also made it interesting, Tom, because basically what that meant was it was go time from the minute you dropped the green flag.
Yeah, it was a sprint race, and it wasn't, so much about saving tires or whatever. Usually in a Pro Series East race, particularly on the shorter tracks that they run on, the Greenville Pickens and such, you go 100 and a quarter, 150 laps, and you have to take it easy on the race car. You just can't beat the car out from the drop of the green, or you'll be out of a race car before the end. And this race was a little bit different, as you say. It was a sprint type race, and again, credit William Byron. He really has done a fantastic job all season long. And I think he's shown that he's worthy of the opportunities that he's getting. And I would certainly expect him at the Lucas Oil Raceway to be in the top 5 and possibly even contending for a win first time out of the box with Venturini. It's great equipment, and he's a very adaptable young racer.
Now, I'm going to stop and just say this and actually eat some words from back at the beginning of the year, because I'm pretty sure that if you go back to about January and listened to one of our early in the year shows when we had just heard that he was going to be full-time in the K&N Pro Series East, I'm pretty sure it was me that said at that point that I was confused as to why they would pick William for one of those seats, because I just didn't feel like he had done enough in a late model to belong in the K&N Pro Series East and be at the level he was at. And I don't think I've ever been so glad to be wrong.
Well, and I'll second that, because I was with you on that.
He's been unbelievable this year. 4 wins on the season in, I think, 7 races, I'm pretty sure, if I've done my math right. He's making his ARCA debut this weekend at a track where it's very prone to young winners. We saw Brandon Jones do it a year ago
last year.
Very similar equipment. I mean, equally as competitive. He was in a Turner Scott car last year. Honestly, I was a little surprised H. Scott didn't go ahead and throw an ARCA car out there for him to run. But, why not? If you can farm him out to Venturini, give him the same level of equipment and not have to spend any extra money out of your own pocket, go for it.
Well, I'm not really sure what all the economics of that situation is or was, but again, I agree with you totally. I think Williams been a nice surprise, and of course, again, a K&M Pro Series East car drives very differently than a late model car does, and I think
more horsepower.
Yeah, I think. Well, it's really almost a completely different car, but I think. William with a year, a winter to sort of let things sink in, and of course, the opportunity to be in good equipment and be around people who are excellent at developing and bringing the talent out of a racer. I think William has proved that again that he's worthy of the opportunities he's getting, and he's really had a good season. That was an interesting race in a lot of ways because it was shorter and because it really never got to a point where you sort of felt like it was monotonous. You were always kind of waiting for the big thing, the big moment. And I'm not sure there really was one. There wasn't, a huge crash. There wasn't, it was a decent race. And I thought all of the guys did a great job. Guys and girls did a great job out there.
Yeah. It really was. It was a solid day. It was a competitive day. I will say this, though. The one thing that I'm a little disappointed about through this whole K&M Pro Series season, we keep waiting on it. We keep waiting on it. I so badly want to see J.J. Haley be able to get up there and be like the rest of his teammates, be competitive for a win. We saw him finish top 3 at Bowman Gray, but that's really been his only bright spot of this season. It's been rough, everything else, and it's so unfortunate because you and I have watched JJ for a while,
Sure.
Tom. We both know that he's got the talent to be there. It's just a matter of circumstances that have left him really up a nasty little creek this year.
Well, it has been circumstances. It has nothing to do with JJ's talent or ability, and it has nothing to do with the ability or equipment or performance of the number 5 team that he races with. It's just one of those seasons. Sometimes you just can't, as they say, can't win for losing.
Yeah.
And, it's really that's about as apt as it gets in this situation for JJ. And I think that once he finally gets off the schneid, he'll probably win a couple.
I hope so.
That's generally the way it goes. Again, it's the old momentum thing, but he's just got to get over that hump and get the first one. Now, that being said, I don't think that the fact that he hasn't won, while it's disappointing for those who enjoy what JJ's doing and like JJ, I don't think that it says anything about his future or anything else. It's just one of those years. And, almost every driver, if they race long enough, Kyle Magda, is going to have one of those years where they just can't quite get out of the mud, and that's kind of where JJ's been. But I still think the kid has an extremely bright future, Kyle.
And Tom, JJ could have a big weekend as well here at Lucas Oil Raceway because he's running the late model race tonight there, and then he's running the ARCA race tomorrow night for Todd Bronze. So I think it's might be an old Turner Scott car, but he's just trying to get some more track time there, and with what he's trying to do. And, he ran third at Sonoma here. He ran third at Bowman Gray. He's been on the brink. William Byron's going out there and leading all the laps. And JJ's been up there, but just, not getting the luck, with like the first race of the year with Ronnie Bassett, with that contact at New Smyrna. And there's so many things that could happen in a racing. It just, the luck just doesn't go your way sometimes. And, much like last night, Bobby Pierce leading some of the race and just, not the right place at the right time, with the restarts and stuff. But, it happens. But for JJ, I think, he's only, 16 years old. So
Sure.
He still has a lot to go through, Tom. He still has a lot of years left. And he has a very bright future as well, with the teammates he has around him, William Byron, Scott Hecker, Rico Aber, Dalton Sargent. I mean, they're all capable of winning races. And, we're coming to Iowa here next weekend. I mean, that's a big stage, just like it was in May with the East and the West guys. So there's a lot going on. And for him, running, you got LOR tomorrow night, Iowa, Watkins Glen, Motordrome. There's so many races here. This is a very busy stretch for him. And, with the K&N as well, running back-to-back events here in the next 3 weeks. So there's a lot to look forward to for JJ. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised he goes out and wins Iowa. That's a tough race to win, but he has experience there, and his 2 starts there, and I thought at Columbus he'd be a good dark horse, but it just didn't happen. But there's still a lot we can see here in the next few weeks. Especially the K&N series with everybody coming back. At least seeing some racing. Not sure if the West is running this week, but maybe Colorado. I mean, maybe one of you two know, but so there's Iowa here, and then Tom, it's just a big stage for them next weekend with Xfinity at Iowa.
Well, and I would target Watkins Glen as a race that I could see him winning
because Trans Am.
Yes, because of his Trans Am experience he's had this year. He's good on the road courses. He ran good at Sonoma. I see no reason why he couldn't go out and win that race. I certainly could see him winning Iowa, but more so, I could see him pulling one out of his hat at Watkins Glen. So that's just something to kind of think about as we get closer to that event, and we'll watch what goes on at Iowa this weekend. But JJ, definitely a very bright future.
Bright future indeed, Tom. And it's just, again, all these storylines that we're going to keep following. I've been doing some digging here a little bit ago, and before we do a little bit of business here on the Performance Motorsports Network, want to update something we talked about a little earlier. I mentioned at the top of the show that Alex Bowman is in for John West Townley this weekend at Indianapolis for the Xfinity race. Bowman going to be in the Zaxby's number 25 machine because Townley apparently had a non-racing related injury that was aggravated on the dirt Wednesday night in the truck at Eldora. Wow. So, since he's not running for driver points in the Xfinity Series, Townley going to rest up, be ready for the next truck race, and going to cede the seat to Bowman for, I believe, the second time of late. I don't remember if it's the second time this year, if it was one late last year that he had, but Michigan. I know Bowman's been in that car once before, so Michigan. It's going to be interesting to watch. Thank you, Kyle, this year. So, we've got that out of the way. We'll talk more short track racing and get back to the short tracks of America when we come back. You're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on PMN, the Performance Motorsports Network.
You own a performance car and you know how to drive, but you want to learn real performance driving. Well, Bunky, get that car off the street and onto the track. Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier road racing facility, located just over an hour from D.C. in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, is the place to go. And you'll find that Friday at the track is going to give you what you need. For less than a monthly car payment, you can attend this regularly scheduled one-day instructional event in your street car on one of Summit Point's 3 world-class road racing circuits. You'll receive classroom instruction, skid pad instruction in their cars, including front and rear skid control, and 4 20-minute in-your-car instructional sessions from a professional instructor. Have fun, go fast, and really learn how to drive. Call 304-725-8444 for class schedules and details. That's 304-725-8444. Friday at the track at Summit Point Motorsports Park.
Every 30 minutes, another innocent person is killed due to a drunk driver.
My best friend. My brother. My poor grandchild.
My sister.
My father.
My husband.
My mom. My mommy.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you.
Stop these tragedies before they happen. Don't drink and drive.
The Performance Motorsports Network is a compilation of shows about motorsports. From technical to controversial to just fun, everything you like about racing and gearhead stuff is right here on one internet channel. The Performance Motorsports Network. Tell your friends about it.
Hi, I'm Reed Sorensen. Racing has been a part of me and my family for as long as I can remember. I had to make tough choices early on to get to the top. It took hard work and dedication, but it's those tough choices that help me prepare for challenges I would face as a cup driver. Make the right choices today and be ready for the challenges tomorrow. This message is brought to you by the U.S. Air Force.
Let's go back to steel and aluminum stock cars and supplying the SRIs with Race Chaser Online Senior Editor Tom Baker and the Speed 77 Radio Cast.
At Steel
Steele.
What?
That was just awful.
Well, that's close enough. I don't care.
Boo. Boo. Bob Steele does not get the award for best voiceover of the night.
He definitely doesn't get a cookie, that's for sure.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on the Performance Motorsports Network. I'll take that cookie. My name is Jacob Seelman. I'm the managing editor at RaceChaserOnline.com. Senior editor Tom Baker alongside me and Kyle Magda, our Northeast correspondent. Now, you don't need them.
You guys can split the cookie, but Jacob
back
does it
down
more
there.
than we do.
Let's get off the cookie subject and get back to racing,
cookies
shall
are
we,
fun.
gentlemen?
Go ahead.
They're always good.
All right, so I think we've covered most of the short track in action, but we've got 3 guests coming up that are of the ARCA assortment, and that does give us a chance to go back and talk about the most recent ARCA Racing Series event and also preview tomorrow night at Lucas Oil Raceway where Kyle Magda is going to be. But first, Kyle, we're coming off a massively successful run for the ARCA Series at Iowa. And the 3 guys that we are going to have on here to close the show, all from Cunningham Motorsports. 2 of them were in that race. 1 of them was leading until the last lap. But who would win that race, might we ask? Oh, yeah, the hometown boy. How about it for Mason Mitchell?
Yeah, the Mason Racing, as his Twitter handle says, Jacob.
Woo!
So, we have the Cunningham Motorsports Brigade. I got tongue
Brigade.
twisted
I
up
like
there.
that word.
Yeah, I told Tom that earlier today, but there's so much, Chase Briscoe running his series debut this weekend in the Cunningham car. That's going to be interesting to watch. But yeah, Kyle Weatherman led so much of that race. Actually, I want to give a shout out to Matt Kurgieski because he led a chunk of that race as well. And I actually saw him last night in Eldora, guys. I was talking with him a little bit. He just told me the pit stops were a little slow, so that kind of put him in the back. And but Mason Mitchell, that 1 lap dash he had to do was just he gave it all he had. I didn't watch much of the race. I did get to see the finish. And for Mason Mitchell, I think that's his last scheduled start of the season as well. So he's not scheduled to run.
Scheduled start being the key word.
Yes, that's why I said scheduled. So, for someone like Kyle Weatherman, he has a prior start there back in 2013 and getting outfoxed by the veteran of the series, Grant Enfinger. So, when you look at that, with Cunningham and also Austin Cindric as well, he led some laps. Finished 4th in his debut.
Led 40 laps.
Yeah, and on a big stage as well, with his IndyCar, with his dad looking over as well, and we'll talk more about it when he comes on. So, for Austin, I picked him to win. I was really impressed. He was quickest at Daytona in testing back in January or December, I forget already. It's just been so long, but there's so much for going for ARCA right now. We're going back to Lucas Oil Raceway tomorrow night, Jacob, and it's good to be back. Brandon Jones is back this year, and actually he's in the car that dominated most of that race until that whole thing that happened, with Justin Boston there. But every time at Lucas Oil Raceway, guys, I see a trend. It just seems like the craziest things happen at that facility. Whether it was in the NASCAR days or the ARCA days, it just seems like the plots always twist in those races. Something comes up, maybe like a lap car or an engine failure. Or there's just so much that goes on at that racetrack, guys. And like Justin Boston last year, goes out and pulling away from everybody, and then winds up getting into a lap car. It can change that quick in the race, and Jacob, and it's crazy. And I think we may see the same thing here on Friday night.
We may. Now, going back to the players and the scorecard, I think what's most interesting about this, Tom, and I'll throw the William Byron connection back in here again. Byron's going to be in the 55 for Venturini Motorsports. Now, I'm not going to say anything specific because there's not been an official press release or anything like that. However, Cody Coughlin was scheduled for the entire short track program with Venturini this year. I've heard a lot of people, especially those who are closer to the situation that happened to have been in the garage area with us at the summer shootout on Mondays and Tuesdays throughout the last 2 months, say that relationship has kind of been breaking down the last little bit, especially after the fit that he threw at Chicagoland when the thing blew up after 25 laps and Cody kind of stormed off. I've heard a lot of people say that partnership is starting to devolve. I was intrigued by Byron getting tapped for Venturini, not necessarily surprised, and I'll be curious to see where Cody Coughlin and the funding that his family company through JEGS provides ends up ultimately. I've heard a lot of people throwing rumors, maybe KBM or something like that. They're targeting a truck program now that he's over 18.
Well, again, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, it's just reacting to what you said. It's attitude's important in this sport, and regardless of your financial situation or your family connections or whatever the case, if you show you're behind, then people are going to kick it eventually and kick it out the door. I mean, that's just kind of how that's gonna work. So perhaps. I'm not gonna I won't say too much more than that, but just again reacting to the speculation or the talk that you're hearing, that would be a very good reason why that relationship could break down in a hurry. And you know what, motors are necessary evils, I like to say, and they do blow up now and again.
Yeah, ask Nick Snyder about his sprint car motor this year.
Well, I mean,
yes, he'll tell you motors blow up.
Ryan Millington's been through 5 so far in his Legends car since January. True. So I mean, it's there are just stuff that happens, and so I don't know. That will be interesting. Williams certainly is a capable racer, and I think he'll do well in the car. And I wish, Cody all the luck wherever he goes. If in fact it is the case that perhaps he and Venturini Motorsports may be parting ways or whatever, or the relationship's breaking down. You hate to see that, but it happens at times. And sometimes you got to go somewhere to find out the grass isn't greener on the other side. So Cody's definitely a capable racer for sure.
Now, you talk about faces possibly departing the ARCA Racing Series. Let's spiral back and talk about a face that's re-entering the ARCA Series. Kyle Magda, you mentioned Matt Kurgieski a minute ago and how well he ran at Iowa. Did you not, sir?
I did.
All right. His crew chief is going to be back behind the wheel tomorrow night. So you'll have to do us all a favor, and when you go down to the pit area and see the Ford of one Brian Keselowski, say hi for us, because it's been a while since Brian's been in an ARCA event, period, but we know he knows how to drive on the short tracks. He's got a couple of victories.
I think this is the first time he'll be running since the Pro Cup series last year, so that whole series is now.
I was there for that, by the way.
So yeah, I mean, for Brian Keselowski, it's a good opportunity for him. He's been talking about it, just trying to get everything lined up so he can go out there and run a race. He had cars in the shop with the 29, and and Matt Kurgieski, we talked a lot last night just because he happened to be there. And, he's going to try and fly out to go see it if he can, but, he'll be back in the 54 at Pocono. But for Brian, I mean, I'm really intrigued to see how he's going to run tomorrow night. Not being in a car for almost a year or so, I mean, you guys can correct me on that. And for him coming back to this series, I don't think it's been, 5 years since he's been back in this series, or 6 years?
It's been a while.
It's been a good while. But it's like riding a bike.
I think he might have ran Toledo or something a long time ago. He did fill in for Bobby Gearhart at one point, when Gearhart had the bad wreck at Pocono back in 2007. So, but nevertheless, I mean, for Brian, I mean, I'm wondering how that's going to work out on Friday night for him. There's 34 entries in that race, guys. That's astounding for a short track race. Even Iowa had a lot of drivers as well for that race. So the fields have been okay. I mean, as much as, we talk about low car counts there, they've been drawing good for the short track races as of late. You have guys like Travis Braden and William Byron, Chase Briscoe, as I mentioned earlier, and Matt Wallace, Mike Wallace's son. So there's just so many things going on, and I'm really interested to see how this race will play out tomorrow night. We could see someone like Brandon Jones get do as good as he did last year in a different car, because Venturini could probably use the win right now, Jacob.
2012 at Berlin, the last time Brian Keselowski was in the ARCA series. And by the way, you mentioned Matt Wallace, who is going to be behind the wheel of a Bill Kimmel-owned car. Matt Wallace actually shuffling out one of the guys we've come to know and love in the ARCA series. I think it's going to be the first race all year, actually, Tom, that he's missed. No Will Kimmel. In fact, no Kimmel at all in this field. I can't even begin to tell you when the last time is that's happened.
A Kimmel-less ARCA field. Wow.
Yeah, wow.
That is definitely surprising, and I missed that on the newswire.
Matt Wallace in the 69 this weekend for Kimmel Racing.
Happy to see Matt getting a chance in driving. Matt's a great kid, and always enjoyed him when he was racing the Legends cars, and it'll be interesting to see how he does with it. I'm not sure why Will Kimmel would be stepping aside. That's kind of interesting. And maybe
my guess is it probably has something to do with sponsorship.
Well, that could be too. And, it'll be interesting, again, to see how it works out. And Kyle, obviously, will get the full scoop tomorrow night.
Yeah,
and,
I'll be looking forward to hear that. Right now, though, I'm also looking forward to hear from the trio of Cunningham drivers that we're going to have over the next 45 minutes, and that starts with the guy that's making his ARCA debut tomorrow night, Chase Briscoe, who's been on with us before, rejoins the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show here in just a moment, and we'll see what his thoughts are getting ready to go to the very difficult short track just outside of Indianapolis. Right now, you're listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsport.
How to be a great dad in 15 seconds. Bike ride, go fish, walk in the park, phone call, milkshake, play catch, picnic, fly a kite, tell jokes, laugh, talk, read a story, tell a story, bumper car, swing set, bowling, pillow fight, cut loose, stay tight. Whew. Because the smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today. Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
Media sales professionals with agency experience. If you're frustrated with your current position, unrealistic quotas, and inept management, if you're a sales machine and you simply will not take no as an acceptable reply, if you're looking for a rapidly growing company with unlimited sales potential for commissions in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, if you're searching for a high-tech, forward-looking, laid-back, but extremely professional organization who appreciate your skills and dedication, we have your next opportunity. Scorpion Radio Group is building a sales team of self-starters who are motivated. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444 or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. That's 717-749-0444 and ask for Sue.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right, it's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette, it's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit coopercorvettes.com.
How to deal with someone who says that's so gay. Outsmart them.
This party is like so gay.
Totally. Excuse me, but did you ladies know the word gay used to mean happy or excited? Then it became a word used to describe gay people. Then somehow it came to mean dumb or stupid, which is how you just used it, which is not very nice.
Ew, that guy is on the football team and super smart, and he totally hates us now.
Totally.
When you say that's so gay, do you realize what you say? Knock it off. Learn more at thinkbeforeyouspeak.com.
Now back to Speed 77 Radio, Stock Car Steel, SRI Motorsports Show, and more Thursday night race talk. Here's your host, Tom Baker.
Boom, Betty.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show. Tom Baker, Jacob Seelman, Kyle Magden, apparently a Jimmy Johnson commercial right at the tail end of that transition there.
I'm just Comedy Central tonight.
Yeah, this segment apparently sponsored by Lowe's department stores. We are home improvement stores. We are back on the program, and we are joined by a driver who has been a guest for us a couple of times before, and definitely excited to have him on tonight. Chase Briscoe, I consider to be one of the top young driver prospects, if you want to say it like that, who is not currently racing in a NASCAR National Series, and glad to see that this young man is getting his first start in a stock car in the ARCA race tomorrow night at Lucas Oil Raceway. Chase Briscoe, welcome to the program and congratulations on the news. This is really exciting.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to have you on and talk a little bit about how this all came together, because you actually told me about this a little while ago. It's been several weeks and we just haven't been able to connect to get you on the program. But talk a little bit about the genesis of this and how it all came together for you to race for Cunningham Motorsports this weekend.
Yeah, it was really just being in the right place at the right time and an answer to prayers. I did the K&N deal a couple of years ago, and then I was really wanting to make the move over to stock cars and pavement, just couldn't really find the opportunities, and none of the doors really opening. And then I got a call to go test for Cunningham a couple months ago, and I went down and tested and started helping them at the race shop. And then it was just one of those deals where they were kind of looking for somebody to bring up through the ranks again. And Briggs Cunningham and Kerry Scher really wanted to open those doors for me, and luckily they did, and I was just that guy that they picked.
All right, Chase. So going into tomorrow night, obviously Lucas Oil is a track with a ton of history for the ARCA series and motorsports in general. But for you, it marks a really, really big milestone in your career. I mean, how important is that tomorrow night going to be for you to be able to finally sit down and say, all right, this is the next step. Let's see what we can do.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely a big deal, but I'm just trying to look at it as just another race, even though it's got a lot more on the line than just your normal sprint car and midget races. But it's one of those deals where you're just going to have to go in and, like you said, a lot of history. And then with it being so close to home, it's going to be really cool to have all my family there and just friends. And so definitely going to be a little bit of added pressure, but we're going to have a really good car, I feel like, and excited to get out on the track tomorrow and see what we got. But, yeah, the ARCA series, they've had a lot of great guys come up through the ranks that, are very successful in NASCAR, and that's what I'm hoping to do in the future. So definitely a lot of pressure, but just trying to look at it as another race.
Well, let's talk about the open wheel side of life for a minute, because I know, though this is your first ARCA start that you've been able to accomplish, I know you've not just been sitting completely idle this year. I mean, what have you been up to in 2015, either on the open wheel side or anywhere else?
Yeah, I mean, 2015, it hasn't had a lot of races, but definitely been running some sprint car and midget stuff. And then I've just been really busy down at the Cunningham shop. I volunteer my time there and spend a ton of hours at the shop trying to help those guys as much as I can. So I've ran, I think, maybe 5 or 6 sprint car shows and 3 midget races this year, counting the Chili Bowl. So not completely idle, but definitely going to be a little rusty when it comes to just racing. But hopefully I'll get the hang of it real quick again, and we'll be towards the front.
How different is it? How tough is it to be in a full-size stock car at a track where there's as much beating and banging as Lucas Oil Raceway compared to some of these sprint car and midget shows that you've run in the past, where it's just a completely different animal?
Yeah, that's the toughest thing for me, is getting used to just the car's so big and just carries so much momentum with how much weight it is getting into the corner. And for me, it's hard to find the balance of getting it slowed up in time, because sprint car deal, you charge into the corner so much, where on the stock car side, you really back it up, getting in and just let it roll. And that's been the hardest thing for me to do, is just trying to set the pace, kind of, because of the sprint car deal, we're used to 25, 30 lap events, and where this ARCA race is going to be 200. So for me, it's just hard to find that pace. But the more I do it, the more I'll get better at it. So hopefully we can get some more races in.
Yeah, it's almost like you've got to basically take everything you've learned, and in a way, you've got to teach yourself, crash course yourself the opposite, if you'll pardon that really bad choice of words. But, you actually have to do the opposite of it for this race, don't you?
Yeah, kind of, because the sprint car deal, it's just you got to go from lap 1, and where this deal, you can kind of bide your time the first 50 laps and just kind of let the race play out and see what happens. But, yeah, it's definitely going to be something to get used to. I've only ran 3 pavement races before, so I'm still trying to figure out even where my fenders are, just because I've not ran a stock car very often. So that's the toughest thing for me, is just knowing where my car is at all times. But, the more laps I get, definitely the better I'm getting at it. And Indianapolis, it's a really neat track, and you're going to be running 3 and 4 wide, so that's going to be something that I'm going to have to get used to really quick. And when we tested there last week, we were right on the fence, so that's another thing trying to get used to, is figure out where my right side door is compared to where on the sprint car deal when we're running the fence. You know where your right rear is pretty much, because you're sitting right over top of it. So sitting on the left side is definitely something to get used to.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And, and just the sheer, the sheer weight of the car and the way that it drives compared to the sprint car, I'm sure is quite different as well. Now, obviously, this will be your first ARCA Series race, and this may be a little bit premature, but has there been conversation that perhaps there could be more down the road for you? Or is this, as of this moment, is this just a one-off for you as much as you know?
I mean, as much as I know and as much as they've been talked about right now, it's just a one-race deal. And I think leading up to the green flag, it's still going to be that. After the checkered, we'll talk about, what we want to do in the future and see if they want to do more. But right now, I can't thank Briggs Cunningham and Kerry Sherry enough for even giving me this opportunity just to run one race. So anything that comes after this is just a blessing, and we'll just take it one race at a time and see what happens. Well,
I know that you've worked awfully hard, Chase, and it's it's great to see somebody like you get an opportunity like this. You've been through the Peak Stock Car Challenge a time or two, and I know that it's your goal, obviously, to try and get to NASCAR's National Series. So it has to be just almost overwhelming for you to finally be getting a shot in a full-size stock car to go out. Do you feel any extra pressure because of the fact it's a one-off deal? It's in front of your home crowd, so to speak. Are you feeling any pressure? Or are you just kind of going in saying, you know what, this is what I got. I'm going to do my best at it and not worry about it.
A little bit of both, honestly. I mean, you're definitely going to have to just go into it and, this is what I got, just see what happens and leave it in God's hands. But at the same time, all the people here that race sprint cars in Indiana keep telling me that they're going to come watch. So it's, definitely added pressure when you're going to have the whole racing community around here coming to watch. So we'll just have to see what happens, and whatever happens, and we'll just have to deal with it.
Chase, you talk about the test at LOR. Who helped you out the most to get up to speed, and how were your times there with your Cunningham team? Was it just yourself, or did Kyle or Tom Hessert also go with you as well?
Yeah, all three of us went, Kyle, Tom, and I. And Kyle seemed to be the class of the field for sure. Kyle's going to me, be the guy to beat tomorrow night, and Tom was really good too. So our car, we struggled a little bit, but we found a problem once we took it back to the shop on the pull-down rig, and Neil Lewis has been working his tail off to get that back together. So I think we're going to have a totally new race car, so that's going to be something to get used to for sure, just trying to figure it all back out because it should react totally different than what we did at the test. So unfortunately, I'm only going to have 2 45-minute sessions, so I'm going to have to adapt quickly, but kind of had to do that my whole career, so we'll see how it goes for sure. But, all the guys at the shop, I just can't thank them enough. I mean, we didn't even have this car started till, I think, 4 days before the test, and we worked till 2 or 3 in the morning every night, and I was right there with them. So I know what they were going through, and hopefully I can get them a win, and we can all celebrate together.
And you talk about that. What's the transition been like from the dirt to the stock car? I know you talked a little bit about it earlier. And we see with last night's Mudsummer Classic at Eldora, I mean, would you ever express an interest in maybe running a truck there in the future if they continue the race? And what are you looking to get the most out of tomorrow night running that stock car and hopefully putting up a good result?
Yeah, I mean, I would be willing to run anything, anywhere. I mean, that's what I've always wanted to do, just race for a living. And tomorrow night, the goal is just, go out there, do my best, hope people see that I have the talent and ability to do this and that I want to do it, and just give me an opportunity. And like I said 100 times, I mean, Kerry Sherry and Briggs Cunningham have been doing that so far, and I just hope that we can continue to do this. It's a great thing. It's a great team. It's the greatest opportunity I've ever been given in my career, and I just can't thank them enough for that.
And Chase, have you competed at Lucas Oil Raceway in the past? Have you ever turned any laps before your test here a little bit ago?
Nah, I've been there in the past to watch a lot of USAC Midget and Sprint Car and Silver Crown shows, and I've turned laps there on iRacing, but as far as getting on there in real life, that last Wednesday was the first laps, and we got almost around 100 laps there, so I'm definitely feeling a lot more comfortable than what I showed up with. But, other than that, just watched a lot of open-wheel stuff there, and I've actually watched one ARCA event there live a couple of years ago, and been watching a lot of videos on YouTube trying to learn as much as I can, but I feel really confident going in tomorrow night, and I know my crew feels really confident, so we'll see what we can do.
And, of course, Chase, you mentioned Briggs and Kerry, and I know how huge a piece to all this that they've played in making this deal come together and just giving you a shot to come out and see what you can do behind the wheel of a stock car tomorrow night. I know they're a big part of it, but I know there's other people and sponsors, supporters that you need to thank too, and we want to give you a chance to do that. Who makes it happen for Chase Briscoe?
Yeah, all my career I've had great supporters, and my family is definitely one of the first ones. I mean, my grandpa and my dad sacrificed everything. We don't have the best equipment, but we go out there every night and see what we can do with the big dogs, and we fare pretty well, and we've had a lot of supporters just of Briscoe Racing. We've been doing it since 1976, and a lot of great people have helped us, and then all my fans, they're just the greatest fans in the world, and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. I mean, he just blessed me in so many ways, and the ARC race tomorrow night is definitely going to be one of the biggest blessings, and he just opened so many doors for me. And Briggs and Carey, again, it's amazing how much they've sacrificed for me, and then all the guys at the shop, they were literally just spent so many hours there just so we can go out there and race, and it's just amazing after I've volunteered my time there to see how much actually goes into it. I never knew that you put that much time into it, and I can't thank them enough.
And certainly we're going to have fun watching it tomorrow night. Real quickly, I'm just curious, is there any goal for you going into this, or is it just log laps, keep the car in one piece, and see what happens and what kind of position you're in the last 50?
I mean, the goal is to go there and win. I want to win both practices. I want to win qualifying. I want to win the race. I know it's a long shot, but if you don't go there thinking you're going to win, you might as well not even go, in my opinion. And they hired me to win a race, and that's what I'm going there to do. I mean, I don't want to run 10th. I want to win. But I feel like if the top three would come, that would really be crucial, and I feel like that would be a good stepping stone to maybe get another race. But definitely the goal is to win, and we'll see what we can do. And I feel like I've definitely got the shot to do it. Cunningham's a great team, and all the guys there really know what they're doing. Neil's been getting the car really pulled down on the pull-down rig, and I think we're going to be really good tomorrow night.
Well, we certainly look forward to seeing what you can do, Chase, and we're excited for you. We definitely wish you a safe and successful debut in the ARCA Series at Lucas Oil Raceway. Kyle Magda will be covering that for us on site, so you may get to see him and talk to him a little bit tomorrow night. So we wish you the best, and definitely look forward to talking with you again soon.
Thank you very much, guys, for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Chase Briscoe. We're going to step aside. When we come back, we are going to keep with the ARCA racing theme. And for that matter, we're going to keep with the Cunningham Motorsports racing theme because Kyle Weatherman is going to be joining us next. You are listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Parents, your son or daughter has had their license for a while now, but you want to make sure they're prepared for any situation they may face on the road. High school driver's ed doesn't teach them to drive defensively. They need to be prepared for any highway emergency. For less than a month's insurance, and a whole lot less, BSR instructors at Summit Point Motorsports Park in nearby Summit Point, West Virginia, will teach your son or daughter how to respond instantly and positively to unexpected situations on the road. BSR's specialized accident avoidance training teaches swerve to avoid maneuvers at highway speeds, ocular driving, which focuses driving attention on ways to avoid accidents, vehicle dynamics and feedback, skid control and skid recovery, threshold braking on straights and progressive braking on curves, and off-road recovery techniques. This is stuff driver's ed simply doesn't teach. So call BSR today, 304-725-8444. Give your kid the skill set needed to drive safely and responsibly on the highway. That's 304-725-8444.
You hear that? That's the sound of America's only sports car. That's right, it's a Corvette. But not just any Corvette. It's your Corvette. It's that who cares if there's traffic part of your day. And this can be you when you come to Cooper Corvettes. With 60 years of Corvettes to choose from, there's always a Corvette in your budget. And they'll service any Corvette you bring in. Cooper Corvettes on Route 1 just north of Quantico and Triangle. Call, click, or visit CooperCorvettes.com.
We're growing like crazy and need account reps who know their way around agencies, the internet, and social media. Got connections? Or do you know how to get to the decision makers? Are you fearless? We need you. Internet radio, or as we call it, wireless mobile radio, is rapidly becoming the place to be with almost limitless income potential. So contact us to get involved with the fastest growing professionally produced group of internet radio stations in the world. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444. Or you can email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Hi, this is John Ondrasik of Five for Fighting, here for RAD, the entertainment industry's voice for road safety. You know, style is a personal thing, and your lifestyle is your business. But if you take it on the road, it becomes everybody's business. So please, plan ahead, designate before you celebrate. Friends, don't let friends drive drunk.
A public service announcement brought to you by RAD, the National Association of Broadcasters, and the Ad Council.
Now, back to more with Tom and the Speed 77 radio crew. It's the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show here on PMN, the voice of motorsports. Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, Jacob Seelman with you on a Thursday night here. And we're talking racing for about another half hour or so, Jacob. And we've got another special guest and another member of the Cunningham Motorsports team coming up.
Yeah, if it weren't for the fact that they're mostly on their way or already in the Indianapolis area to get ready for the Lucas Oil race tomorrow night, I would have said we just probably could have driven down to their shop and done the entire show from there.
Yeah, right.
But as it is, we want to talk with the guy now who came just a skosh away from taking the checkered flag and scoring his first oval win in the ARCA Series over the weekend. Kyle Weatherman gets past on the last lap, and I know you, Kyle, and I also know that, you know, as good as this season's been for you, one lap short's got to sting just a little bit. Even still, just, you know, you're going to Lucas Oil, but I know it's still on your mind.
Oh, absolutely, it really is, and it probably will be for a while. But you know, it's something that can be overcome, and hopefully we can do it this weekend. You know, we've been working hard at the shop here this weekend, and hopefully we can have a good weekend to kind of bounce back from the second place finish, which is obviously really good. But I think we have a chance for another victory here this weekend. So we'll see what we got this weekend and go from there.
I want to circle back to that last lap run at the tail end of the Iowa race, because I'm sure you've replayed it. I'm sure you've thought about it. I'm sure you were thinking about it in the car. I know you didn't want to see the last caution, but was there anything that you could have circled specifically that may have made the difference on that last restart that allowed Mason to get by you there right at the end?
Honestly, I wouldn't have liked to. I would like to not have seen those past couple cautions. We actually had two green-white checkers there at the end. But that last restart, I actually spun my tires a little bit. That hurt us there, and then he actually had just a really good restart. That's just what it took. The restart before that one, I had a really good one. So it's just kind of unfortunate that I couldn't put it together for that last restart there. But like I said, it's basically just fueling the fire, and hopefully we can overcome kind of bounce back from that restart there, and have a good weekend this weekend here at Lucas Oil.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you going forward from here is, how much drive does that give you? How much does that add to the momentum that you want to take into this weekend to try and go out, avenge it, and grab a victory tomorrow night? Absolutely. I mean, it really does. We've had a great season. We really have. I think it's 7 races now, and we finished in the top 5 of all of them. So that's my goal, honestly, just to kind of finish in the top 5, and eventually we'll be there at the end. Kind of like we were at Iowa, and and maybe we can pull off a couple more wins before the end of the year. Our cars have been fast, really everywhere we've been. It's a great organization to be a part of, and I can't thank Kerry Shear and Briggs Cunningham for everything they've done for me so far.
Kyle, you're returning to a track you've already competed at in Lucas Oil Raceway this weekend, and also you have Pocono coming up as well. You tested there back in June. What are you looking to get out of the most in these next couple weeks? I know you've run at Lucas Oil. What are your thoughts of that track, and what is a reasonable expectation for you here tomorrow night?
Lucas Oil is an awesome racetrack. It's probably it ranks up there on one of my favorites for sure. There's multiple grooves you can race around, and top, bottom. I mean, really all over the racetrack. So I really believe tomorrow night's going to be a really good race, and obviously just kind of go bounce off these top fives, and obviously that's the main goal. But you're just running all laps and completing all of them. Like I said, hopefully we're there for the end. My goal is just to complete all the laps, and hopefully be there for the end, and maybe pull off a couple more wins before the end of the year.
And we had your teammate Chase Briscoe on before. And we know you tested here a week or two ago. Did you give him any tips to get around Lucas Oil and kind of help him get into the stock cars and get faster the more track time he gets?
Yeah, Chris Butcher's helped me out a lot, with basically everywhere I go. He helps me out, and I kind of just gave him ideas that Butcher gave me, and the kind of stuff that I've learned, racing here last year. So we've talked a good bit. Tom's kind of helped both of us out, honestly. Kind of having all three of us together, kind of bouncing ideas and learning off each other. Hopefully, we can get these Cunningham Fords up front, and finishing the top five like we did last weekend with all three cars.
Well, you certainly had a great run last week, as you mentioned. I was going to say you got all the cars in the top five, and this is an interesting scenario because you got Chase Briscoe, who's a first time runner in the series, and of course you got Tom, the other teammate Austin Cindric, who's run with Cunningham this year, of course, and very successfully, is off running a road race this weekend. So you are kind of second chair, if you will, in terms of experience, which has to be a little bit of a different feeling for you, considering you're still so inexperienced. But to be able to help Chase out a little bit and encourage him must be kind of a strange feeling for you.
Absolutely. I mean, I know exactly how he feels because I was basically in his shoes last year, and luckily I had Chris Busher behind my back. Him being through all these races and doing really well at all of them. So I basically know how he feels. Kind of being the first time coming here and first ARCA race. So just anything I can do, I'll definitely help out. And obviously I expect the same from him. If he learns something and kind of sees something working, I kind of expect him to to do the same. So we're definitely working together well, and hopefully moving forward we can keep doing that.
All right, so we know what you got going this weekend, and we know that you're pretty solid in the series for the foreseeable future. But talk about 2016, if you know anything yet. What are you looking to do? What would you like to do? And then what is the game plan at the moment?
No real game plan quite yet. Obviously, we've talked about it. We're definitely going to be with Cunningham's, that's for sure. Just the amount of races is undetermined. Obviously, I'll be 18 all next year, so I'll be good to go on all the age limits and all that. So obviously, my hopes are to run the full season and go for a championship. But honestly, it just honestly depends on how everything falls out and kind of plays out. So the hopes are to run the full season, but like I said, nothing 100% set or anything. That's for sure.
Amazing how time flies. It seems like it wasn't that long ago. You were in a Bandolero in a Legends car running the summer shootout. Now here you are in the ARCA series about to turn 18.
You're telling me, Tom. I was sitting here a couple of years ago watching him race at Charlotte.
Yeah, it's really amazing how fast time flies. If you had a chance to really kind of sit back and think about the ride that you've been on the last couple of seasons, Kyle, I mean, your career has kind of taken off somewhat quickly here, and now you're actually in a position where next year if the sponsorship were to fall right, you could run a full season of ARCA and actually do some other things in NASCAR as well.
Absolutely. I mean, honestly, it really is flying by, and you just got to enjoy the moment, and spend every minute with people that you enjoy doing it with. Being at the racetrack is definitely what I like to do, and spending time with family and friends is what I like to do. So kind of having them come and support me at the racetrack, and kind of supporting them with what they like to do too. So it's a lot of fun, and like I said, it's definitely going quick, but you just got to enjoy the moment while you have it.
Well, we definitely know that you have no trouble doing that, Kyle. I mean, I've seen that from what we've seen out of you behind the wheel this year, and just the way you've carried yourself all the way through this season. It's really been enjoyable to watch, and we know it's not possible without a lot of people. You've hit on a few of them. Want to give you a chance to shout out to them again. Who makes it happen for Kyle Weatherman and this whole 22 camp?
Obviously, Briggs, Cunningham, and Carey Shear. Obviously, without those guys, we would not be in the situation that we're in now. So I for sure got to thank those guys. Roush Bennett Racing, they're helping out this year too. So that's a big step in the right direction, and I got to thank those guys too over at Roush. So that's really cool. And then obviously my mom, dad, and brother and sister. Without their support and their motivation each and every week, it definitely helps out. So I got to thank those guys, and then the guys at the shop at Cunningham Motorsports, they work their tail off, and I'm going in there and helping out, and kind of giving them motivation to get better each and every week, and we're for sure doing that. So got to thank all these guys that helped me through the past couple of years, and keep on digging here.
Well, we know you don't have any trouble doing that, and it's always a whole lot of fun to have you on here. Thinking about how this is all coming full circle, I mean, now you're 18, able to run the rest of the races for the most part, and, this is a track where you've had so much success. You had your first real breakout run in the ARCA Series here, and I know you're looking to follow up that run from a couple years ago with a win tomorrow night, so we're looking forward to see it, and maybe one spot better this weekend than last?
That's the plan. That's definitely the plan for sure.
All right, Kyle, we're looking forward to watching it on Fox Sports, and appreciate you being on as always.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Kyle.
That's Kyle Weatherman, and we'll go to the third Cunningham teammate of the hour when we come back. Austin Cindric going to join us to talk about his ARCA debut from over the weekend, and we'll get ready to put a wrap on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports show. You're listening to it right here on the Performance Motorsports Network, the voice of motorsports.
Motorsports sales professionals. Performance Motorsports is looking to build a team of experienced media sales professionals to represent our programming to the industry's top companies, magazines, and racing series. If you have motorsports sales or marketing experience, know how to work with agencies, understand social media, and are incredibly creative when it comes to working with clients and promotions, then we want to hear from you. Top performers are richly rewarded. Your imagination is the only limit here. Call 717-749-0444. That's 717-749-0444, or email us at scorpionradiogroup@gmail.com. You want to ask for Sue.
Every 30 minutes, another innocent person is killed due to a drunk driver.
My best friend. My brother. My poor grandchild.
My sister.
My father.
My husband.
My mom. My mommy.
Well, I've been afraid of changing, 'cause I've built my life around you.
Stop these tragedies before they happen. Don't drink and drive.
Do you love the sound of high-revving motors and the smell of burning rubber? Do you want to get your car sideways right at the ragged edge of control? If you've always wanted to try drifting or learn to improve your drifting skills, Summit Point Motorsports Park, the Mid-Atlantic's premier motorsports facility, has the expert instructors and the specialized track to teach you how to drift and the skills necessary to drift competitively. From skid pad to open sessions, Summit Point Motorsports Park has the safe and open environment that allows drifters of all skill levels, new to intermediate, to get sideways and smoking. With a focus on safety and the skill set necessary to drift competitively, Summit Point Motorsports Park's Drift Nirvana is just the thing for you. Call for your reservation today, 304-725-8444. Or for more information, go online, summitpoint-raceway.com, or you can email them at office@bsrinc.com. Drift Nirvana, getting you sideways the right way.
If you own a gun, you have a full-time responsibility. When you aren't using it, be sure it can't get into the hands of curious children, troubled teenagers, a thief, or anyone else who might misuse it. Your family, friends, and neighbors are all counting on you. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org. This message brought to you by the National Crime Prevention Council, the Bureau of Justice Assistance, and the Ad Council.
The Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show continues now on the Performance Motorsports Network. And here's your host, Tom Baker.
Welcome back to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Tom Baker, Kyle Magda, and Jacob Seelman. And Jacob, normally this would be our white flag segment where we would start to wind things down and just kind of talk about sharing thoughts for the upcoming weekend or whatever, but we're not done having guests yet, and I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited about this for a lot of reasons, because we've been trying to get him for a couple of weeks to talk about a bunch of different things, not the least of which was his ARCA debut that he almost won at Iowa Speedway over the weekend.
He's harder to catch than the Roadrunner.
Well, there
on the track and off.
Yeah, that's about right. Austin Cindric, before Tom completely devolves this conversation, I mean, we all know you were close to winning that ARCA race, led a lot of laps in the closing stages. I mean, was there ever any point where you finally let yourself think, hey, we actually have a shot at this?
Yeah, definitely. Heading into the race, I told myself, you know what, if we come over to the top of my finish, I'm going to be pretty happy. And at the end of the race, I was pretty disappointed we didn't win the thing because, like you said, we led a lot of laps. And, things were looking good near the end there, but it just didn't work out.
I mean, I know you've had a lot of success in a lot of different cars lately, and we'll talk about some of the other cars that you've been in here of late in just a minute, but did you expect for your first real ARCA start, I mean, I know you tested at Daytona over the winter, but to come to a short track that's as difficult to drive as Iowa and run like you did you expect it going into the weekend, or were you kind of pleasantly surprised by the way it all turned out?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I know with the Cunningham boys, I'm going to have good equipment under my feet. I've got good guys around me between Tom and Kyle at the race, and as well as during testing, I was actually able to get some help from Ryan Blaney. So I had some good guys around me, and so I knew I had some good advice and the right people telling me the right things to do. So I think it makes sense that we were able to be there. It was definitely not an easy task, but I'm really appreciative of everyone who was able to make it come together.
You threw a name out there that Tom and I both kind of looked and raised our eyebrows a little bit. How big of a help was having somebody with as much experience as Ryan has at Iowa and some of these other bigger tracks? How much was he able to help you over the course of the day and getting adapted to the ARCA car?
Yeah, it was great. I had never driven a stock car before we did the test when I shook down the car, so it was really important for him to let me know what's normal and what makes sense with what I'm doing and what's right and what's wrong. So that was huge for me to have him there.
All right, now let's shuffle gears for just a second and move away from the ARCA run for just a minute, because you made a little bit of history in another part of the motorsports spectrum just a couple of weeks ago. Made history when you became one of the youngest ever to pick up a victory in the Continental Tire Sports Car Challenge. You've been in everything here of late. You've been in an ARCA car. You've been in the Continental Tire Series. You're going to be running in the Continental Tire Series at Lime Rock this weekend. You pick up a win in Canada a couple weeks back. I mean, how big was that for you and for the team to finally be able to put it together after as many different things as you've driven this year?
Yeah, it was huge. We just had Watkins Flem the race before. We had debuted the new GT350 RC as well as the Sport Performance. And so it was really important at the team's home race to really pull off a good result. And Jay did a great job in his stint, and it was the first race they had me in the car finishing the race, and I knew I had to be there to perform. And yeah, we were just doing our jobs, and it came out to be a great race, good result.
So for the fans that don't know or may not tune into the Continental Tire Series on a regular basis, how different is driving one of those road course cars compared to the ARCA car that you just hopped out of in Iowa over the weekend?
Well, it's completely different. I mean, the cars in the Continental Tire Series are basically the cars you can buy off the showroom floor. They're just made for racing spec, and I mean, it's high intensity racing. You've got many different cars in the classes. And I mean, you got manufacturers all over the place. You have to share a car with your co-driver. The races are 2.5 hours long, so it's a big difference from that to stock car racing.
And, that's not even the only two things you've done this year. You had a drive in the 12 hours at Bathurst. I mean, you've been all over the place, all over the world, racing different things. I mean, you've done some time in a rally car. I mean, what's next for you headed forward? Where else are we going to see you this year? Obviously, we know you're at Lime Rock this weekend, but what's going on beyond that?
Yeah, there's a couple things in the works right now. Obviously, I want to get back in a stock car for this season. It looks like my next schedule opening up is in Kentucky. Trying to figure out how we can possibly make that one work, as well as more GT experience, maybe something in a GT3 car. But we'll see where that leads me. But obviously, like you said, I've got a lot on my plate between Continental Tire and GRC lights.
You really, it's really been amazing to watch you grow up in this, Austin, because we've known you since your days in the Legends cars, and then all of a sudden you're off doing Formula 2000 or whatever. You're off doing now you're doing stock car stuff, you're doing Continental stuff, you're running the 12 hours of Bathurst. I mean, you do so many different types of things. Obviously, one, you have to just feel blessed to have the opportunity, but I'm curious what you like the best. I mean, which type of racing, and I don't want to hear I like them all, because we know that racers will race anything, right? But you got to have one that you kind of just enjoy a little more than the others, don't you?
Yeah, like you said, I'm very fortunate to be able to be put in that situation, to be able to drive as many cars as I have. But I mean, honestly, I think every time I've been on your show, you guys have asked me the same question, and I don't think my answer's changed too much. It's not that they're all fun to drive. They're all different types of fun. You have the way you have fun in a rallycross car is completely different to the way you have fun in a stock car, the way you have fun in an open wheel car, the way you have fun in a sports car. So they're all different types of fun. It's like comparing apples and oranges to me.
See, I'm impressed, because we keep trying to trick you by getting you to slip and just pick one, and no matter how we ask the question, we can't do it. So you've got us. I'm not going to ask anymore. It's just great to see you doing so many different things, Austin, and doing them so well at that. I mean, it's very impressive to watch someone your age go out and be able to go from car to car and just adapt so quickly.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So now that Tom's kind of run down the train a little bit and talked about everything you've done, I'm curious at looking how much success you had in the Arcus car so quickly. Obviously talking about the fact that you're looking at Kentucky for your next start in that car. Is there going to be a point over this off season where you stop and look at what you're doing, and are we going to see you start to hone in on one specific schedule maybe for 2016, or are you having too much fun bouncing around and doing a little bit of everything to stop and chase one schedule or one set of points right now?
Yeah, in a perfect world, I'd like to drive every car every weekend, but obviously that can't happen. So, like I said, there's going to be at one point where I would not necessarily have to decide on one thing, but one path is going to lead to the next for the best opportunity possible. I think that's the same thing with this year. I had a great opportunity to go run with Multimatic in the Continental Tire Series, as well as run with Wolfsburg's MSC in the GRC Lights. And those are my two best opportunities, and I took them for this season. It's not necessarily the car or the series or whatever. It's whatever opportunity is going to lead me down the road in the best possible manner.
Now, talking about opportunities real quick here, because for those who may not know you or recognize your name right off, your dad is Tim Cindric, who's the president over at Team Penske and has done so much with the V8 Supercars program over there, the IndyCar program over there, and that's the one that I kind of look at and go, So has there ever been any talk between you and your dad, or between your dad and Roger, about thinking when you get old enough, maybe looking at doing anything on the open wheel side? I know you did some of the USF 2000 stuff, but did you ever think about maybe going bigger in the road to Indy ladder?
Yeah, I mean, for this year, I tested a Pro Mazda car actually at the end of the last season during the Chris Griffith Memorial Test they have during the off season, and I tested the Pro Mazda car for June Coast. So the thing really is there, I'm not going to be able to drive an open wheel car in the ladder because, quite frankly, I don't fit anything I wouldn't have to drive in that series. Indy Lights probably be able to fit in, but Pro Mazda car, it wasn't safe, it wasn't comfortable for me. I mean, we were still fast, my knees were all the way up in the steering wheel. I had to drive on top of the steering wheel, and it just wasn't a great situation. But like I said before, it's just about the opportunities and which ones make sense.
That tells me that your height didn't necessarily cooperate with the open wheel side of life there.
Yeah, no, nothing about being 6'3" works for race cars.
Well, especially some of the open wheel stuff. There's just not a lot of extra space there like there is in the stock car.
Yeah, no, not at all. I mean, I still struggled a bit in the stock car getting in and out of the cars. My knees kept on going up into the dash when I was getting in and out.
You think you have a hard time? You should watch Brad Doherty try to get out of a late model car at some point. That's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah. I'm sure it's a similar experience, but I can do it one there.
All right, Austin. I know you're gunning for a lot of success going down in these next couple months. Before we get to the sponsor list for you and give you a chance to give the shout out, being at Lime Rock this weekend, being able to hop back behind the wheel, go road racing again after the success you had at Motorsports. Are you excited to try and go and do this all again? Maybe grab another win?
Yeah, I mean that's the plan. This weekend's a bit special for me because not only with my commitment to Continental Tire, also my commitment to GRC Lights this weekend. So I'm going to end up starting the race in the car. I'll qualify and start the car, and then I'll hand it off to Jade. And right when I get out of the car, I'm going to have to hop on a plane to go straight to Detroit to make the last chance qualifier for the Detroit GRC race, and then I'll also have the second race of the day in Detroit on Sunday. So I've got a very busy weekend coming up with 3 races, but I know Jade's very capable of bringing the car in the top step as well. So I'm looking forward to what happens there. I know we'll have good pace, and the cars have been running pretty good the last couple tracks we've been at.
And these NASCAR guys think running double duty at one racetrack is tough. He's running 2 different disciplines in 2 completely different states. I mean, it's quite incredible, really. Just to close it out, Austin, sponsors shout out. Who makes it happen for you and across all the different cars that you've run this season?
Yeah, to start off with the ARCA stuff, I was really lucky to have AutoZone come on board, and Ford was also a big part of that, as well as Multimatic. It's been a huge part of me in this season, let me be able to run for them. Definitely want to thank my mom and my dad. I want to thank Oldsburg's MSC for believing in me this year in the rallycross side of things. Bill Puck stuck with me, as well as OMP and Bell Helmet. They've stuck by me for the last couple of years, and I've got great relationships with a lot of these guys. I can't thank them enough.
Austin, we really appreciate you being on the program tonight, and we always look forward to talking to you whenever we can catch up with you. And congratulations on all of the opportunities and the success that you've had this year. We wish you the best this weekend at Lime Rock and hope to be able to talk to you again soon.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Thanks.
That's Austin Cindric, and we've got a white flag in hand right now. Really quickly, Kyle Magda, I'll give each of you 1 bullet point before we close. We're headed into a big weekend at the Brickyard Xfinity Cup following the ARCA race tomorrow night. The big track, so much history, and only one can go to victory lane.
Yeah, I think the thing I'm looking at is the drag package that they're bringing to both Xfinity and Cup. Along with ARCA, with that at the Brickyard, all the events, tonight's USAC race at LOR, going to the ARCA race on Friday night, and then the Brickyard on Saturday and Sunday, and also the Tony Stewart Classic out at the Speedrome in Indianapolis. So it's a really big weekend there, and just leading up to next weekend at Pocono, which I'll be there as well.
Yeah, Tom, this is a big weekend for Tony Stewart. He just promoted a truck race last night, and he's got a midget race named after him on Saturday. So it's fun if you're smoke.
And he's got a cup race on Sunday.
That he's won twice.
And I'm going to be interested to see what this new package does for Tony and also for the rest of the guys of the Cup Series at Indianapolis.
Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The Brickyard 400, one of the crown jewels of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season. And you want to catch all the action? NBCSN this weekend. Race coverage at 3:30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday afternoon. I do believe it's a little bit later start so for the Brickyard, but a race that's always a whole lot of fun to watch. So as we get set to say goodnight here on the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show, we want to say thank you to our partners at Stock Car Steel and Aluminum and SRI Supplies for helping to make this show possible. And for all your shop supply and scrap metal needs, visit stockcarsteel.com and sri-supplies.com for more information. And right now for Kyle Magda, Tom Baker, and of course Big Mike behind the glass helping us push buttons and make this show happen here on the Performance Motorsports Network, I'm Jacob Seelman for PMN, reminding all you race fans and gearheads out there to keep it off the wall until we meet again, and we just might see you somewhere at the racetrack. Have a safe racing weekend, and we'll see you next Thursday. Good night.
You've been listening to the Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show on the Performance Motorsports Network. Tonight's show is brought to you by Stock Car Steel and Aluminum and SRI Supplies. For all of your racing needs, visit stockcarsteel.com and SRI-supplies.com. Keep up with the latest motorsports news every day on Race Chaser Online. The Stock Car Steel SRI Motorsports Show is a copyrighted production of the Performance Motorsports Network. www.performancemotorsportsnetwork.com. A member of the Scorpion Radio Group, Inc., and may not be rebroadcast, replicated, or saved in any media without the explicit written permission of PMN. Check out our Facebook page or our section on the PMN website. The opinions expressed on this program are those of the host, co-host, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect those of the management and ownership of either the Performance Motorsports Network or Scorpion Radio Group Incorporated, the advertisers, or the marketing partners. Be listening again next week for more great motorsports programming right here on the Performance Motorsports Network.